Okay, the valves, the carburetor has been very problematic. I have a vacuum leak at the coupling area, the coupling boots and the carburetor boots. I've gone ahead and fixed that. I could not sync the carburetors my last attempt, and it burned out my battery. I hooked a 12-volt car battery to it. I had to go to work, so I put the 12-volt car battery on it and got it back together, started, and tried to do a final sync on it. Couldn't do it, so I rode it to work. Got about 35 miles to the gallon, between 35 and 38 miles to the gallon, so it was okay. This is what a VFR sounds like when the vacuum leak and the pilot. Now, there are two problems in fine-tuning this. First of all, the pilot screw needs to be removed, and secondly, you want to equalize all your fuel mixture. I was only using the factory pilot screw and it's crap, so I switched them out. But listen to this. I haven't synced it yet, but I'm gonna tell you what, man. Cleaning out the valves. Look at that. That's some serious improvement there. It's due to a vacuum leak. Now I jumped the fuel pump relay in order to prime these carbs, and it started up on the first kick of the choke throttle. In other words, I put fuel into the carbs using the fuel pump relay, and as I was doing it, it was spewing out the overflow valve. And it's spewing out the overflow valve because there's no vacuum in there yet. So if you run into this, you got a vacuum problem. Now, to alleviate it, fuel's just going to get spit out. But I had it on the other one too, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. It's because no vacuum is in there, or there's a vacuum leak. So in order to do that, once you start seeing fuel kicking out, turn it off, give it a couple cranks, spit everything out like your carb cleaner and all that, and it should be running good. That's a lot of response. I would say about 50% increase in response. Let me see if I can sync it. New brake lines on it. I'm going to do a whole fork job. It's going to be mixed 2.5 weight fork oil with automatic transmission fluid. The reason the automatic transmission fluid is too heavy. I think it's about 20 T, but it is too heavy. I cannot get these things to be a good ride. Handles great around corners, it's too rough. So I've got a 2.5 weight fork oil. I'm going to mix it with the ATF Mercron high mileage. Other than that, I've got new steering heads for it, new brakes. The main thing is the pilot screw. Remove the factory pilot screws. That's the main thing. That's why this thing's running so good. Alright. The oil in there is OW40 because it's too thick. 10W30 is too thick for the cold weather. However, after you do a valve job, or clean the valves and adjust the throttle, in other words, there is no play, there's no slack in the throttle whatsoever now. The bike is just completely different, and I'll show you what I mean by the exhaust and also the throttle response on it. Now this bike has 58,000 miles, so it's coming up on 58,000 miles. Still rides like it's brand new. Yeah, I gave it too much gas there. Now you see it's idling at 1,000 and it's dead on. There's no, If you redo the ignition and do the valves, the bike runs so much smoother. If you adjust the carbs, rebuild the carbs, and put in new float needles, the bike is completely different. Now I've tightened up the throttle completely. I've increased or set the choke on its maximum, and you know, the throttle doesn't snap now, it rolls on, and you can see how it rolls on. You see the needle there, watch the needle. It doesn't snap anymore. It used to snap because there was a looseness in it. It rolls on. Delta Vic Tri-Oval. Now when you wrap the exhaust, it also changes things a little, but the bike is completely different than what it used to be.